Welcome to No Way But North, where we talk about the miracles of recovery and the tools used to achieve them. My name is Cooper Lyons. My clean date is November 27th, 2010. And once again, not as always, Big John Meldrum is not here with me. I'm just going to make as big a deal of that as possible so I can give him crap when I see him. He's feeling a little under the weather, so he's not with us right now. So make sure, again, just comment below and ask him where he's at. Give him a hard time and make my job a lot easier. My clean date is November 27th, 2010. Once again, this is No Way But North. Our guest today is Glen. Glen's a recent Northpoint graduate, Boise native. Glen recently left Northpoint and has graciously agreed to join us in hopes of shedding light on what it is like and what it takes to do well out of treatment. I think you're somebody that's really, really taken this to heart, and you're doing the program, and that's why we have you here.
Yeah.
So thanks for joining us, man. What's your clean date?
5/12/2019.
5/12/2019. That's awesome. And the quote. Sorry, I almost forget the quote. If you ever find yourself doubting you can make it through a challenge, simply think back to everything you've overcome in the past. Karen Salmansohn. I hope I'm saying that right. Salmansohn says salmon and then son. Salmansohn. So when I hear that, I just think about recovery is the most amazing thing that I've ever been through. But it was also by far the most difficult.
Yeah.
And it really, not only is it proof that like I can go through a lot of shit and come out on the other side, but I learned a lot going through that. And I have all these tools, and I have all that spiritual toolkit that they talk about. And I know I can use those tools to overcome anything, whether it's a relationship, a death, loss of a job, a promotion, whatever stressful thing might happen in my life. I know I can use what I learned in getting clean and staying clean in order to move forward. And that's kind of what comes to mind for me.
Yeah.
What about you?
Same thing. For me, I feel I've overcome a lot of things, mostly in recovery. I was born 2 months premature.
Wow.
2 pounds and 14 ounces. Survived that. Grew up in a drug and alcohol family. My dad was a drug dealer, cocaine. My mom was a cocaine addict.
Okay.
Pretty rough growing up. I was terrified all the time. He was going to get busted or
or who's coming to your house or.
So
so you're just a born fighter.
Yeah. And they got divorced when I was about 6. My mom went to treatment. About the same time, 6, 7, or 8.
And you've been in Boise your whole life, right? Born in Boise.
I moved to San Diego at one point for a year and a half.
When you were younger or older?
Right out of high school.
Okay. So sorry, go ahead. So parents split up when you were 6.
Yeah.
Mom went to rehab.
And then my dad kind of went out of my life and re-entered back when I was in junior high.
Okay.
And he wasn't married at the time, but he had a long-term girlfriend that had some daughters. So I call them stepsisters.
Yep.
They were a few years older than me. So, and went to the same junior high and high school. So it got out that my dad was a drug dealer to all my friends.
Of course.
Yeah, that sucked. I was embarrassed. Everyone thought it was cool.
But you're like, fuck no.
Yeah, I'm like, someone's going to say something to someone's parents or, something.
Yeah.
So I was in fear all the time, whether that was going to happen, whether the police were going to come. He did end up getting busted and raided. And
when was that? How old were you?
I was 16, I think.
So well and old enough to know what was going on.
Yeah.
Okay. And how long did he go away for, if you don't mind me asking?
About 8 years, I think.
Okay. Yeah. That's a hard time to lose a dad.
Yeah.
Graduating high school, all that stuff.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that. And kind of re-entered my life later in my early 20s when I got out of my first rehabs.
Okay. And how old are you now? Don't mind me
asking?
asking?
37.
37. Okay. You look pretty good for 37.
I know. I don't know.
No, dude, own it. That was good confidence. Yeah. I liked it.
I don't know how that worked out because I've done a lot of damage to my body. But yeah, so he was in and out of my life a lot. And then he got pancreatic cancer and passed away when I was about 26. So we never really repaired our relationship. And I haven't really dealt with that too much. That's one of the things I'm working on at Ashwood and stuff.
Yeah, totally. I had a cousin that committed suicide when I was like 12, and that was something that took me a long time to be able to actually process
Yeah.
and get through. So don't rush that one. If I have any advice on that.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
Speaking of that, I've had a couple suicide attempts too. That's what got me first to rehab.
Okay. And how old were you when you went to rehab first time?
23.
23. Okay.
And I was just starting to have like bipolar symptoms and stuff. I didn't know what it was at the time.
Of course.
But I was heavily drinking to try and numb that. And I was starting to do, I got introduced to opiates when I got my wisdom teeth out.
Of course.
At about 17. And I was like, what are these magical things? They made, I mean, I don't
made
get
you feel
drowsy,
exactly how you wanted to feel.
Yeah, I don't get drowsy on them. It gave me energy. I could speak better. I could talk to people. Because I was always afraid of everything, like people and anxiety. Just
Yeah. So
huge.
when was the first time you used? Sorry. Let me rephrase. So you were you were just. Do you relate to the statement like I was just born in the wrong skin? Just felt like you were just out of place all the time.
All my life,
Yep.
yeah.
Okay, so when did you start using? I'm sure it's pretty early.
14.
Yeah. Okay.
Got alcohol poisoning the very first time I drank.
That might be some foreshadowing.
Yeah,
right
and
there.
the second time I drank.
Sorry.
Yeah. Some red flags there.
Just a little bit.
Um,
But then it was still just made you feel exactly how you wanted to
Yeah.
feel, and you chased that.
Yep. All
Okay.
through high school. I mean, and in junior high, like I was doing acid and mushrooms, smoking weed. And we had a teacher that like pulled us aside and for kids that they were thinking we were going down the wrong path.
Yep.
Put us in like a period of like confidential drug
Yep.
and alcohol class, and it was supposed to be confidential, but she called my mom and divulged everything to her.
Wow.
Yeah. So like
That probably
kinda-
set some trust issues.
Yeah,
going
that's what I was just
forward.
about to say.
Yeah.
Trust issues.
Sorry,
for
I
sure.
keep cutting you
Yeah,
off.
no, it's good. I need that. I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, yeah, she told my mom, and her reasoning was she thought like I was the only one that had potential to go a better route. But I still thought it was ridiculous that happened, and she ended up getting like fired over it.
Wow.
And everything. But yeah, so my mom told my whole family like at a Thanksgiving or a Christmas dinner that had happened.
Oh my God.
So my family had been on, they've super supportive and everything, and they've helped me out a lot, but they've, watched me from a young age
Yeah.
get worse and worse.
Yep.
I drank a lot. But as soon as I found opiates, like I was hooked instantly.
And that was wisdom teeth at 17.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then into the 20s, we started experimenting with cocaine and stuff, smoking cocaine. And when I was about 22, that's when after doing a bunch of coke, I did heroin the first time, smoked heroin, and was like sold on that.
Heroin's good at what it does.
Yeah. And about the same time, 22, 23, I still had the fear and anxiety and not comfortable in my own skin, but I had like the bipolar stuff going on. I didn't know what to think about that, and I would be up and I'd be down. And every time I'd drink, after a while, I'd get very suicidal.
Okay.
So I had been up for like a weekend, partying and everything, drinking, and was like, had just hit a bottom that I did not want to live anymore. Took all the pills that I had, took a bunch of sleeping pills. I've been drinking, and just got in my car and started to drive, and ended up, I didn't hit anything somehow.
Wow.
But the police got me, and I couldn't talk, I couldn't stand up, and
That's a bit of a God shot right there.
Yeah,
The fact you didn't even hit anybody.
yeah,
Or
and
anything.
I was smashed, and I had a bunch of paraphernalia in my car and everything, and they ended up, like, they were with me for hours, and they, trying to figure out who I was and who to call and stuff like that. And they finally got a hold of my aunt, and she came and got me. I didn't go to the hospital or anything, but she laid on the floor, like, that whole night to make sure, I didn't go out.
Wow.
And then about 2 weeks later, I went to my first treatment.
Okay. And what was that? I mean, was that a good experience, bad experience? Not really an experience, didn't really mean anything to you?
It started to help. It got things going. It was actually like long-term inpatient down in
Okay.
Newport Beach, and I went to like a 30-day thing at a ranch after my detox, and then into like sober living type thing. We were living in houses and going to groove all
Okay.
day, kind of
Okay,
the same
yeah.
thing. But I had the bipolar stuff going on, and like I mentally was not.
Oh, and it still wasn't diagnosed.
Yeah, no.
That would make it fucking impossible.
Yeah, and so I was just up and down, up and down. I was trying, to get clean. I also was like mentally very obsessed with heroin
Yeah.
at that time. I thought about it every day.
Just a constant living in a craving,
like I
basically.
would burn myself to try to stop thinking about
Damn.
it. And it just like, I would tell my counselors, but it was never going away. And so that on top of the bipolar stuff, I started I didn't feel like I was getting help. They were trying to give me meds and everything, but I've always had a very bad reaction to the psychotropic medicines.
Okay.
I've been on tons of them.
Like physically or
Yeah.
just bad? Okay.
Like tardive dyskinesia,
Sorry, what?
tardive dyskinesia. Like it's kind of like you get all locked up and shaky, and you get like
shit.
a permanent. You can get a permanent like tremor.
Okay. Yeah, that makes it difficult.
Yeah, and so I kept on drinking there. Like I drank and drank. After about 6 months, I drank and drank, and that just made everything worse.
Yep.
I talked to my counselors and everything, and told them like I didn't know what I was going to do. Felt like I couldn't stay there. I felt like I couldn't go back home. Either way, I was going to kill myself.
Yeah.
So they talked me into going to a psych ward. Said I would see a doctor right away. So they took me to one in Anaheim, and it was like the worst fucking experience of my life.
I fucking bet.
I ended up being there for 5 days. I was supposed to only be there for 3, and supposed
you're
to
just
see
like,
a doctor. Oh yeah,
fuck
like they said,
everybody
I'd see a
after that.
doctor right away. They'd talk to me, I'd get help, and I didn't see any. I had to cause a scene to get a doctor by the 3rd day. And I mean, it was just like criminals and crazy people, and I'd tell them, "Hey, I'm not supposed to be here. Like, I need some real help." And they're like, "Sure,
Yeah.
you're one of these people." And then, it was terrible. Like,
Fuck.
yeah.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh
No,
yeah.
Good.
And then, so we all decided that I had the dual diagnosis thing, and I went to Sierra Tucson,
Okay.
pretty well-known treatment center, for 60 days, and that's where I feel like I got most help.
Okay. And so was this just all back to back, basically?
Yeah, I was.
Okay.
The whole thing was about 2 years.
Damn.
Yeah. it
So you're
was
just in
rough.
treatment for 2
Yeah.
years.
I went to school a little bit at one point.
Because you were in the sober house. And,
Yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, and then Sierra Tucson was a huge improvement. They kind of got some medicine things figured out. I showed up there actually, second suicide attempt.
Okay.
On the way there, I was just like, didn't think I got anything from like a year and a half at this other place.
What's this place going to do any different?
Exactly, and I wasn't even thinking about my family, which is like really, I'm just kind of now figuring that out. I don't know how I wasn't, but like I feel like I don't know how I put them through that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, man.
But
selfishness, right?
Yeah.
An addiction. You're not thinking about. You're just trying to survive.
Yeah.
Is what it comes down to.
So yeah, on the way there, I went out on the plane and got like ambulanced off the plane when we landed, and woke up to being charcoaled, and lady screaming at me that she was going to put a catheter in me. I was like, no way. I just woke up. I don't know what's happening. Anyway, so yeah, and I was like scared to admit there that I had tried to kill myself. I was just saying it was accidental overdose.
Because of the psych ward experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And they weren't buying it, so it took me a while, and I finally fessed up to it, and they put me on like suicide watch, so I had someone watching me all the time, and then finally we got some things figured out with lithium and got me stable, and I was able to like pay attention and focus, and that place, saved my life at that point in time for
Yeah.
sure.
Totally. So so that was kind of the intake, right? First couple days. So
Yeah.
you were there for how long?
I think 60.
Okay. And so you learned about kind of more about addiction? Was
Yeah,
it more-
addiction, coping skills.
Okay. And you're how old at this point again?
23 or 24.
Okay. Okay. So
And-
learned coping skills, learned
Yeah.
about addiction, brain stuff, I'm sure, all that
yeah,
stuff.
all that. A lot of it was dual diagnosis, so a lot of
Okay.
it was
Mental health.
mental health too.
Okay. Introduction to 12 steps.
Yeah, I had that from the first one. It was like really big scene in Newport and
Okay. Is it
Orange
Newport,
County,
Arizona? California.
California. Then I went to Arizona after that one.
Okay.
Yeah, I started doing the steps. I never really. I was pretty young, I didn't put in the full
Yeah.
effort. I kind of half-assed everything
Yep.
and went out at step 4 a couple times, But it was a really good learning experience. It got me.
Planted the seed. it
Yeah,
sounds like.
exactly.
Okay. Okay. So then what was the discharge like after that? So you discharged from Arizona. Come back
yeah.
here. Boise.
Well, not quite. I went to one more. They talked me going to this one in Arizona.
Okay.
Or no, Florida. And it was terrible. It was like just a run of the mill, want your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that place was terrible. Like,
Unfortunately, there's a lot of those.
Yeah. They took me off, like, I was on Suboxone at that time. The doctor in Arizona had done that, and they promised they'd let me come over and still be on it, but right when I got there, they took me off it. And, yeah, I don't know. I went back to, because that's the thing that, like, has helped my bipolar a lot.
The Suboxone?
Yeah.
I hadn't
And
heard that. That's
not-
interesting.
yeah, it's weird. And so, yeah, anyways, that was a terrible experience, and I was, like, so over rehab at that time, but I got some clean time. I had at least a year.
Oh, okay.
So I came back, and that's when I started going into 12 steps here.
Okay.
And I lasted for about 2 years, and then I just started white knuckling it there.
Yeah.
During that 2 years, I had like the worst 2 years of my life with the bipolar stuff. On and off, tons of medicines, dealing with all the side effects. I slept about 8 hours a week, and I'd be up for 5 days,
Fuck.
down for 8 hours, up for 5 days.
Dealing with cravings, like,
Oh yeah, I
can't
did.
leave,
So
I
I made
bet.
so many bad decisions. I
Yeah.
mean, from taking like 14 Klonopin to try to sleep, nothing would do it.
fuck.
Yeah, it was brutal. I was in a relationship. She had seen me we started dating when I was clean and mentally okay, and then she just saw me spiral down into the mania and everything, and she couldn't deal with it,
Yeah.
which I don't blame her, because I was off in my own world.
Yeah.
I couldn't work. I had to quit tattooing. I had started tattooing. I had to quit
Okay.
because I couldn't. I would just talk all the time and be crazy. Like,
Yeah.
no one knew what I was talking about. So it wasn't very cool. And so then I got back on sub, and it like stopped, which
Okay.
is crazy. And I slept for like a month, and then started going back to meetings again. And then after a while, I just like started working, not tattooing, but working at the sign shop, and just trying to get back from being 2 years of being crazy to being
Yeah.
a normal person.
Building
Yeah.
some blocks of life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And did that for about 5 years and was doing relatively well.
And so you're not drinking or using
Nope.
at all at this point.
Just-
okay.
just on
no 12
Suboxone.
steps either.
Yeah, no, just
Okay.
white knuckling it.
Okay.
And I ended up getting into a relationship with an active user. And for 2 or 3 years, I didn't use, but I was, taking
Wow.
her to get it every day, seeing it in my face every day.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
How did you
dude.
do that?
It was very hard, but it broke me, at one point.
I mean, I don't think anybody else in
yeah.
the world has done it for 3 years.
It
Holy
was-
shit.
It was crazy. And I got her into treatment and stuff, and I was trying to save her, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And didn't ever work. I mean, she went to treatment, but she just came right back and, started using. And after a while, I was like, oh, just try it once. What's the worst that could happen?
Yeah, fuck it.
And then fast forward 3 years later, I've got like gram and a half day habit. I'm shooting meth, getting abscesses. Where our relationship has just gone to shit. We just fight, and then make up for a minute and get high and fight.
But you can't leave.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know how I stayed there. I mean, I love her to death. I care for her. I really want her to get some help, but I didn't think I deserved any better. Once I was in the middle of my addiction, like.
Well, and it sounds like that was modeled for you in your childhood as well.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Like that's what you grew up with. That's what a relationship was.
Yep, exactly. That's very true. And then back in October, I got a very bad abscess, and we were staying in hotels just down.
Sorry, October of this year, but it's last year.
Yeah, 2018.
Okay.
Yeah. And we were just going from one shitty motel to another one. I was doing meth too at that time, and didn't go to the hospital for 5 days. Started getting streaks. My arm was stuck like this. It was going up my shoulder. And I finally, I couldn't use this hand anymore. So I fixed up in this arm, which is a huge no-no.
When you have a giant abscess in it.
Yeah. And I couldn't get anywhere else, but it was the dumbest decision I ever made. And there ended up being 2 in there. And so I finally went to the hospital. I was terrified, they were going to treat me not well.
Yeah.
For the most part, they did treat me very well. Did 2 surgeries on it, and they packed it full of gauze, and when they pulled it out the first time, I passed out. It was so painful. And,
God,
yeah. It was huge. I mean, and I was all right, I'm done. I'm never gonna do that shit again. And after about 2 weeks, I was back out.
Oh.
Yeah.
I mean, I honestly, most of the times those stories go in 5 hours later.
Yeah.
So 2 weeks isn't bad.
Yeah, it was all right for 2 weeks. And, and then I had this pump on my arm, and it was terrible. And one of the nurses from Northpoint would come. I don't think she worked there at the time, but she'd come and change my dressing.
Okay.
So she's the one that told me about Northpoint.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So
you're at the hospital?
Well, no, she was coming to my house. Whoops.
Oh, you're good.
Sorry.
No worries. So she was coming to your house.
Yeah,
change
so
the
after
dressing.
I got the surgery, they'd come every few days and change it.
I didn't know they did that.
And I was I'll be all right. And nope. I had a very expensive habit, $200-300 a day, which I can't afford. So I was finally I was done. I was getting more in this arm too. And once you start getting them, you just keep getting them. And I was also having problems with blood circulation from the meth and stuff. And so I was I'm done, and went in. And I was super impressed because, I've been to a lot of treatment.
Oh, sorry. Went in Northpoint.
Yeah.
Okay. So you called.
Yeah.
Do you remember who you spoke to by any chance? Just curious.
I talked to Sean.
Oh, okay.
I talked to her a couple times the first time and the second time.
Yeah, we just did the first episode with her today. Yeah.
And I can't remember. I talked to 3 different people.
Okay. So they got you into Northpoint.
Yeah, I had to wait about a week, and I kept calling back because they said, something might open up. So I'd call back every day, and I was fuck. But it ended up being a week. But I finally got there. And I think I slept for about 5 days, just straight. I had been up for a few days prior to going in. And I think John came and introduced himself. And I'm okay, your name's John? I don't know what's going on. I was still pretty messed up. And Dan came and introduced himself. And then Tony got me up to go to group. She's you got to get up. I'm okay, fine. And I was super impressed. Everyone welcomed me right away. And the main thing I thought was really cool is, the counselors will run the groups, but they kind of let the group do the work.
Yeah. They're there to steer the boat.
Yeah, whereas the other ones I went to, was always someone running it. and it wasn't so much group focused. It was like
Almost talking at you.
Yeah. Which didn't really help me at all. So I was very like super impressed. Like definitely better than the first one I went to and the third one I went to.
Good.
Yeah, they got me leveled out on meds. My detox was a lot better than I expected. It was long, but I thought it was going to be. I had never detoxed with like the clonidine. I've always like gone to did the sub taper.
Yep.
So I was very terrified about that when I first went in, but it was. I mean, the nursing staff was so incredible. Helped me out a lot. I had some problems with my vision when I got in there. No one knew what it was. So the first time I went in, it was mainly I detoxed for like 15, 20 days. Yeah. And my mind still wasn't there.
I remember you were like in a hoodie the whole time.
Yeah.
You were not like.
Yeah. I
there.
couldn't think clearly. I mean, I was trying to participate. You know, it was just really hard. My brain wasn't like, couldn't keep up. And like, I still didn't feel good all the time. And I just wanted to sleep. And, you know, I put together a discharge plan. Everything seemed pretty good. I got out on a Saturday and had the downtime. And I was like, what am I going to do? I was supposed to meet some people for a meeting, and I just ignored that. And
what am I going to do?
Yeah.
I have this thing, but your brain is just...
And I was like, I just got out of rehab. I could take a break. And it was the worst decision I ever made. Ended up calling my ex, and, you know, within 12 hours, I relapsed.
Yep. And you still came to Ashwood.
Yeah.
Which is surprising still.
I was terrified, man. Like, I don't know how to explain it, but I still wanted help. I needed help. And I just fiend for that stuff so bad. And I got a tax return, and instead of being like, "Oh, put it in the bank," I'm like, "Oh, give it to the dope man," it was all bad. So I was out. I was going every day, and they were really cool. I was like, I'm terrified. You know, I don't know what to do. I think I can stop on my own, and we tried that, and I didn't even.
So you're going to Ashwood and also still using heroin every day.
Yeah.
Okay. So try to stop on your own. Didn't work.
Yeah. And I was coming in with my sunglasses on. I obviously didn't look real great when I first got there, but after, you know, a week, I didn't look good at all. Like, they knew something was going on.
Yep.
And, Jolyn called me out and, like, told me, you know, you're going to fucking die. Like, because my ankles, I couldn't walk. Like, I was already getting abscesses, little ones.
Damn, in a week?
Yeah. Because everything, I messed them all up so bad that, like, they didn't recover all the way, and it just started.
Immediately.
Yeah.
Damn.
So I was like, yes. I talked to Todd, and they're like, we think you should go back. And I was like, I will definitely go back.
Which is also another unique thing.
Yeah.
Most people fight, especially because you were out for, what, a week and a half? 2 weeks.
2 weeks,
They're like, fuck that. I'm not going back to inpatient.
And I wasn't, like, stoked, but I was kind of, I'm like, because I
relieved.
knew. Yeah, I'm like, well, at least I'll be safe. And the second time around was I was way more engaged. I took everything, you know, everyone said. Everyone was real welcoming too, which was cool. I thought they were going to be like, oh, he's back, like this guy. But everyone was super supportive. And I got John as a counselor, and he had me like go back and write about all my relapses and like really think, what am I going to do differently? Like, I need to take the suggestions everyone's given to me and use them.
What was the struggle? Like, what was hard about being in treatment?
It wasn't really hard for me.
Really?
I mean, the struggle for me was being able to open up in front of a bunch of strangers. You know, I'd kind of done it before, so like I knew what it was all about, but
Doesn't make it any easier.
yeah. And I mean, I was basically isolating with one person for 3 or 4 years, you know.
Oh, the ex. Yeah.
Yeah. And I had lost all my friends, like fucked everybody over. So my self-esteem was like shot.
Yep.
Big time. And like I couldn't even start talking without crying every time. And everyone was so accepting, I'd just cry even more. And like,
Fuck you guys for being so goddamn nice.
and I was super lucky. We had like a really good group of people.
You still do.
Yeah, and there's like 1 or 2 from the first time I went in there. They're showing up at alumni and stuff, and there was like 5 or 6 this time that have been pretty consistent, which is really cool.
So John had, sorry, I interrupted you. John had you writing down all your relapses, looking at what you need to do different.
Yeah, and he was like, at Ashwood, someone had brought up, you know, maybe you should go to sober living, and I was like, yeah, right. Like, no way.
Fuck that.
I've done that. But that was like one of the best choices I ever made. He's like, you need to go to sober living, and I'm like, yeah, do I though? Are you sure? He's like, yes, like. And that was one of the biggest things that has kept me clean for the 70-what days I have now.
Yeah.
And got a sponsor, you know, right away. I think I got him the first or second week I was in there. And I really struggled with meetings at the beginning. And
How so?
I just didn't like them.
Okay. Didn't like sitting there for an hour.
Yeah. But once I found a few others than the ones we went to.
At Northpoint?
Yeah, I go pretty much every day if I can.
Nice. Good.
And we have a home group, going to most of the alumni stuff.
Most of the, just skipping a hike every once in a while.
Every once in a while.
So I really wanted to focus on what it's like being out this time. Because I don't think a lot of people, whether they're, you know, on their way into treatment, whether they are, you know, 3 years clean and they forget what it's like, or they have a loved one that's coming out of treatment. What was like that first week like? Like, you're out in the real world now. You're still going to Ashwood like 30 hours a week, but you're going home to a sober living. Like, what kind of things are you dealing with on a daily basis? What are the big struggles?
Well, for me, I had to clean out my car when I didn't do that the first time, and I found like 7 bottles of pills. And so I brought them, disposed of them at Northpoint, and that was I didn't think it was going to be that hard. When I first saw them, I'm like, oh, there's just a few, I'll get rid of them. But I was like shaking when I was giving them away.
Wow.
For them to dump them. And
this is before you went into treatment, the second
No,
time?
no, this is
after.
when I got out.
Okay.
Yeah, because I hadn't cleaned my car probably in like 3 years. So yeah, I found like a bunch of needle caps and rigs and everything, and that was
giant trigger.
A lot more triggering than I thought. And it was hard going to the sober house. I knew a couple people from Northpoint, but it was like hard to start living with a bunch of strangers.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
But everyone there was super welcoming, taking me to meetings, asking me if I want to go, you know, helping out with rides, because I don't have a job right now, so I don't have all the gas in the world. So everyone's helping out, and just going to Ashwood has been like a huge, I needed that every day. When I got out the first time, I wasn't very serious about it. I was calling in a lot.
Yep.
And this time, showing up to everything, keeping in touch with everybody. The first time I didn't do that. There was actually some people at Northpoint. They're like, man, we see you everywhere. And they're like super stoked about it. They're like, I got to do that same thing. You know, I've tried everything else. And I'm like, yeah, I've tried literally everything else. And so I'm just doing what I'm told. Like, if they want me to do everything, I'm going to do everything. And doing the trauma group, started that. Pretty nervous about that, but it'll be worth it.
Yeah, anything worth doing is going to be hard.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the struggles mainly are just like the cravings. They come and go. I did the Vivitrol shot.
How's that working out for you?
It's working out great.
Good.
I don't crave like heroin and opiates as much. It's mainly like Adderall and stuff like that.
Stuff that you can try to justify.
Yeah, exactly. And that's like most of the pills that I found were that stuff. So that was, it was pretty hard to turn it away, but I'm very glad I did.
Well, it's coming back to that quote that we started with.
Yeah.
Right? If you can get past that, you can do fucking anything.
And I have way more confidence now than I did the first time. And every day gets a little bit better. I still have a hard time like sharing in big groups, but it gets better every time as long as I say something. And yeah, I don't know, man. I'm just super grateful for Ashwood and Northpoint.
Well, and so the other question I have is how's it going with the mental health piece as well, the co-occurring stuff?
It was going all right. I started having like those symptoms. Yeah. So I had to get off my sleeping and psych meds, which it's only been a couple days. So I still kind of got to see what happens. We have a game plan in case like I start going manic.
Okay. Good.
And he got me some medication for like the tremors and stuff, which seems to be helping a lot. Like last week, I was stuck, like, and just I was shaking everywhere. I couldn't speak right, and just over the past couple days, it's been a lot better.
Good.
So I don't know about that yet. We still to be determined.
But you're feeling.
Mentally, I feel good. I mean,
seem with it. Like,
yeah.
you're very, very clear. That was the other thing I note, like, that versus that, the first time versus the second time at Northpoint. Like you said, you were more engaged. Like, you were just clear-eyed. You could actually, you were there behind the wheel for sure that second time.
Yeah.
But it sounds like with the mental health stuff, you might not be right where you want to be, but you feel like you're on the right path.
Exactly.
Which is comforting, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it's very scary for me, like being manic and stuff. So anytime I don't sleep, I start to freak out. But
yeah, totally.
I've only had very small little episodes since I've been out.
Yeah. Okay. Anything else you want to touch on?
I don't think so.
No? So one last thing I'm going to ask you is if there's anybody out there that's watching this right now that maybe just got out of treatment and relapsed, or is thinking about coming to treatment, or is having a family member come home that's fresh out of treatment, what one thing or 7 things or whatever, what would you want them to know? What do you want to say? I know I'm putting you on the spot. Don't
ever give up. It seems like a very daunting task to go to rehab, but it's way harder, to stay in active addiction. It's way harder to watch someone in active addiction. It's never too late to go to treatment. I didn't think, when I first decided that I was worth it or I was going to make it. And I can't believe how far I've come. I mean, it feels like I've been sober more than 70-something days.
I agree.
And my family is like, I'm a different person, you know what I mean? They're like so happy.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And, I don't know. I mean, it's scary. It's a daunting thing, but it's totally worth it. And that place saved my life for sure.
Good. Well, you saved your life.
Yeah.
Northpoint just gave you a few tools and you're choosing to use them. Dude, I have no doubt if you just do the things you already know you're supposed to do, you're going to have a lot of recovery and you're going to help a ton of people going forward. So just keep doing it.
That's what I want to do.
Fucking love it. All right, guys, thanks so much for joining us. Please hit that like button, that comment button, that subscribe. Please help Glen's story, help other people. That's what we're all about doing here. If you know one person that got value out of this, just share this video, send them the link, all that cliche stuff that every YouTube video asks you to do. We really just want to reach as many people as possible and share these miracles of recovery. Once again, this is Noah North. We're talking about miracles of recovery and the tools used to achieve them. Thanks. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, call 1-877-648-3125. The views and opinions expressed in no way but North do not reflect those of Northpoint Recovery or any other institution or organization.